Happy Thursday, everybody. Man, trying to get motivated. Long week for me, and it's just Thursday. So, how's everybody doing? So, we get started here. You know how I work. If you got any questions, just throw them in the box. So, we about to let a few people roll in a minute. So I was just looking at the metaverse, looking at some federal cybersecurity. Listening to Sub Zero. He had an interesting stream going on, talking about corporate America. So that was quite interesting to me. So just checking everybody out. Shout out to Master IT. He's in the house. Shout out to Tobias. I think Helmet came and gone. Shout out Dave W in the house. Yeah, just gonna chop it up in talking about the metaverse. If anybody got any questions about cybersecurity, me, just drop them in the box, or you know, we can always pivot that and pivot on back to once again cybersecurity. So um, I was just hearing a lot about the metaverse, and I kind of understood it from a high level. So I just wanted to do some research. So I just thought I would, of course, do a stream about it. Um, it's super interesting, super interesting about it. Um, like that, they believe that's going to be the next MySpace to Facebook. So who's going to get the next big company to control the metaverse and get everybody, hooked to it and start using it from that particular point? I'm not a metaverse, um, augmented reality, virtual reality type of guy where I'm gonna put goggles and immerse myself in a in a virtual reality. But I don't know. Maybe I need to change up. Maybe I need to make some different moves about what that is and what that looks like now. So maybe I'll do that. So let's get started and just start chopping it up about. Like I said, I don't think it'll be too long, but so what is the metaverse, right? So I took it out. It was in Forbes. And I got a couple um, definitions of it. The metaverse is just an idea, but fast growing one. The metaverse is a combination of augmented reality, virtual reality. It's the next big thing after the internet. It will be a virtual space with multiple players. It's an alternate digital reality where people would work, play, and socialize, and it's becoming a big deal for us. And two, I think the next part they're missing is you can actually make money in the metaverse, right? And support yourself and support your family, right? So I think that's the kind of the big deal about the metaverse, what makes it a little different, right? Thinking of the metaverse as a shared virtual space where people will be represented by digital avatars, and I'm gonna talk about that. We got a few of those games and big virtual realities out there now. What makes those not metaverses, right? The virtual represented by digital avatars. The virtual world grows and evolves based on the decisions and action of the society within it. It's a new one-to-one digital copy of the world that is searchable, clickable, and machine readable. Right. So we're gonna talk about. There's been Fortnite. Shout out to my grandson. I have to kick him off Fortnite. Right. He's always grinding with his team on Fortnite. If you old Second Life, right? There's a version of Second Life out there that has a lot of similar components to what you would consider a metaverse, right? And the title, of course, I'm trying to get a little clickbait. Metaverse is at SKYNET, right? You were in there, you start taking it over, right? And you got these goggles on or Google glasses on, right? Is it going to take over your mind? Is it going to make you complacent, right? Is it going to start connecting to other systems, right? Because in the big metaverse, they said multiple metaverses will become connected, right? So, like you going to different countries, right? Or different nations in digital space, right? So they were talking about moving differently between those metaverses. And then for me, once again, I was like, okay. Author Neil Stephenson coined the word metaverse for his 1992 science fiction novel Snow Crash. In his telling, the metaverse is a virtual reality version of the internet, where the alternate universe exists that share VR space using real world concepts like roles, building rooms, everyday objects. People moved around in the universe as avatars, which are 3D representations that can interact with other people through their avatars, and also interact with avatar-like entities that are really software agents. Right. So when you say software agents, is that software acting as a person, or is that a software agent helping you move around? Right. So no longer a niche space, right? The metaverse is getting built. A lot of people are excited about. A lot of people are actually making, moves on the metaverse. The concept of the metaverse is not new. 3D universes, Second Life's already invited millions to build their dream realities back in 2003. After that concept was quiet until the global pandemic sparked a rapid evolution of virtual world. Right. So we'll talk a little bit about Second Life, what that is, virtual reality, but what makes it not metaverse, right? So that's Second Life. It's been out, like you said, since 2003. You can get on it. You can actually, most people play um, with their PC and their computer. They don't do the goggles, right? And I think that's one of the things that makes it quite not a metaverse, right? But Second Life's been out there. You can see the digital characters. You can become who you want, right? Sometimes that makes me nervous to be a girl figure, but it could be a man or it could be vice versa. So you got to be careful when you get out there in the metaverse, right? Stuff could be happening, right? The cool thing that just happened recently in I think it wasn't Second Life, it was Fortnite. Is Travis Scott had a virtual concert on there, and I think they said 13 million people showed up to watch it. Now I don't know how he made money at it. I didn't dig too deep, but I was surprised, that was a big deal. And I think I always mess around. Grande Grande is about to do one. So people doing concerts in virtual reality, right? So how do you get paid for that? I know Tupac did one, at a live concert. They actually showed his, representation with a hologram, right? But that's a little different than being in an immersed into a metaverse or a virtual reality, right? So there's another picture of Travis Scott doing his thing. They said he kind of like came in out the sky like a big Godzilla, then hit the ground, right? And started doing his thing. All right, so the metaverse, right? So that's Second Life, right? And Second Life is the first iteration before we get to the metaverse, right? So, so the metaverse will not come from Linda Lab or Second Life. I still see Second Life platform as the first crucial step towards the metaverse, but anyone with two eyes in their head can see that it's been many years and many changes in management since they even hoped that the Second Life itself would be anything but one world whose sole purpose is to make one company a profit, right? So they believe the metaverse is not controlled by one company or one person, right? It's a virtual reality controlled, right, by the people within it. All right. Linda Lab isn't even a publicly traded company, so we have to invest countless of hours in it, pour thousands and thousands of dollars, stake our reputation and careers, and devoted our creativity and passion to the Second Life platform. We who made Second Life what it is, we can't even see into the black box a teeny little bit. In truth, we don't own a teeny bits of Second Life, right? So they believe when you're in a metaverse, when you build stuff, right, you can sell it, you can own it, you can control it, or you can do a little bit of that in Second Life, right? They got markets, you can sell clothing, right, but you don't have that full immersement of, I guess, controlling every aspect of it, like it's its own economic system. Right. So that's the part of the metaverse they're trying to get control of, right? And that kind of scares me a little bit, right? So now you have a totally known country on digital, right? Are you gonna get super involved? Are people gonna, trade too much currency? How much money can you make on it? So what is that gonna look like in the future? And I think they're still figuring that out, right? I just put this Fortnite hasn't reached the metaverse status yet, but Fortnite is a social network and impossible to ignore a cultural form on. Uh, provide epic games as a key advantage for leading the metaverse race. Fortnite draws a massive and willing and excited audience online to engage what chaotically clashing intellectual properties. For now, it's only a legal place on the internet where Netflix-approved Avatar or Hopper from Stranger Things can work on a can twerk on a Disney-approved Avatar or Luke Skywalker, right? What's up, blind guy, his wife, and their life. So like I said, Fortnite is probably the 1.5 step, right? Like Second Life was one of, I think Fortnite was 1.5, but really, Fortnite is mostly a game, right? When you think of Fortnite and how you move around it, it's really a game. And around that game, right, you have an economic system, but it's not an economic system unto itself, right? I think they want the metaverse to really be an economic system where you can build stuff into it, right? Fortnite is a game with the economic system built around it, right? So that's the difference, I think, between Fortnite and this metaverse they're creating. And I'm gonna get to it. Facebook spending a crazy amount of money, getting their team together to start, really building it. I think they got pieces of it built and piece of it out there. Right. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has been talking news lately, but talking about the metaverse, and he believes that's the future of Facebook. All right. Nobody's ever controlled the next iteration of the web. Like we went from MySpace to Facebook to Instagram to Snapchat, right? But I kind of put those on level. What's going to be the next huge change after that? So whoever does this metaverse seems like that's going to be the next change. So if you look out through history, that's not going to be Facebook. Nobody's ever dominated for that long, right? So Facebook is spending at least $10 billion this year on its metaverse division, right? $10 billion this year on something you don't even know if it's gonna work, right? Right. And the other thing is they're hiring 10,000 Europeans to work on it, and even changing the name of the company from Facebook to probably the MetaBook or something. Hell, who knows what Facebook do? But they hired 10,000 people in Europe to work on it. But come on, Mark, you gotta hire some people in the United States, man. Come on, you gotta help us out, man. Shout out to the metaverse. You gotta hire some people in the United States. But look at that. 10,000 people and $10 billion. I mean, that's a serious commitment for any company. I know Facebook prints money, but that's seriously a huge commitment by that. What's up, Tobias? So why is Zuckerberg going so big on the metaverse idea? The concept of shared virtual reality has been around and works for decades from thousands of companies and universities. Zuckerberg hopes to be associated with as a leader. He wants his company to dominate it, right? That's the next big bag for a company if you can control the metaverse, right? Zuckerberg understands that in order to evolve social network and interaction into the virtual realm, he's got to pivot in his company, making big moves and big announcements and big investments to reorient his employees, partners, and investors into the next transition, right? We got to stay. He's trying to stay on the cutting edge, right? We trying to get people in help desk and do HTML. He's trying to spend $10 billion and take over the metaverse, right? So what does that mean to be a programmer or sell stuff on the metaverse, right? How can people get in the metaverse early so they can get the money, secure the bag, and how to is metaverse gonna be the next YouTube, where you as an avatar, instead of me being on the mic and in this little window, I'm standing on top of a mountain and y'all down there looking at me? I don't like that representation. I need to pull that back. But you understand what I'm saying, right? How does that look like? Shout out to Scott in the house, taking and listening while working. It's all good. So I think, and the Zuckerberg's been real cool about that because he's paid $1 billion for Instagram before it got out. And he actually offered Snapchat $800 million, and I think the college junior turned down $800 million. That was my son. I would have gave him a whooping, but nah. But so Mark Zuckerberg does do forward looking, and he does pull out his pocketbook. But when you're dealing with stock, you can print stock, sell it off and give it to people, right? Zuckerberg and Facebook know that social networks that they exist now will eventually be replaced. And this is what I was talking about. Just as Facebook replaced MySpace, that replaced AOL, that replaced CompuServe, that replaced BBS, right? So if you looked at that, Facebook replaced MySpace replaced AOL replaced CompuServe, CompuServe replaced BBS. I think BBS might be a little bit before my time, but no company ever dominated the internet two consecutive iterations of that, right? So Facebook is dominating right now. I mean, you got some people, and they on Instagram, so you put those two together. But you got Snapchat, you got a TikTok coming in there, but I don't think they're not dominating. Like Facebook prints money, right? So they're trying to figure out how they're going to make that next leap so they can control it for another 20 years, of the internet. Fun, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It makes sense to loudly go big on virtual space to scare away investments, interests, and startups looking to do the same thing. And a lot of people don't know. I was in Silicon Valley for a while doing a little side work. Is there's millionaires you never heard because if you build something small and they can use it, Facebook could just give you 3 or 4 or $10 million to buy your small company, and you would never make it to the marketplace. Right, so they do that all the time. So I might start looking to figure out what I'm gonna try to build in um, the metaverse to see if I can get a little of that metaverse bag. I don't feel like building another website or join another platform. Is a metaverse smart enough to to just merge my stuff? No, that don't take this wrong, blind guy, his wife, and I don't know which one. We old. They're not trying to get us to join. It's for the young people, right? Because as a young person, you're gonna join the metaverse. You're gonna buy electronic clothes, right? Clothes that fit your avatar. They're gonna spill real money, and we're gonna talk about that coming up. NFT coins, pieces of coin. They're gonna spill real money for that. One guy was talking about they got New York built on their metaverse. You can actually start buying New York high rises like they're real. I'm old. I'm not spending no money like that. I promise you, my grandson be on Fortnite trying to buy stuff. He need more power. He need a better gun. I'm like, I said, oh, kill people like the real way, man. I just can't give you money so you can cheat. So kids are spending money like that on all the time on Fortnite. My grandson there trying to, like I said, buy more lights, buy more guns, buying bulletproof vests. I'm like, dude, there's not real bullets, man. Why you buying a bulletproof vest? But kids buy that stuff, and that's gonna be the next iteration. Where I think it's gonna come in, black guys. I think when we do a real meeting, you can do it in a metaverse. And if you have on virtual goggles, instead of us talking to this little screen, right, we can actually be around a table, right? If we need to look at a plan or a script or a building, even, you can do a virtual reality, small mock up of the building, right? Spinning around while we all at this table looking at it, right? So you get immersed into it, right? It feels more like it. And two is you have more power, right? So if we're talking or discussing something, I can say, show this building, and it'd be a digital representation of that building, right? We're not looking at the plans. I mean, if you ever look at what's that show on HGTV, where the Property Brothers they show the plans and the plans show up on the screen, right? If you're doing a metaverse, right, we're gonna be in a room and the walls gonna come around us. We're just not gonna see the picture, right? We're gonna be in the room pulling the chairs out, right? We can click on the chair, it can change colors right there. Right. So I think, it's gonna be at a different level of metaverse, right? And I think people will pay for that. And you start getting those views because if you look at real estate, right, you can get the drone view, you can get the house view, but I want to be able to touch the wall and just change the paint right there, right? I want to say, show me a modern living room suit, show me a traditional suit, show me something that ain't ever been designed for, right? I'm sitting on glass chairs. That don't seem comfortable, but I'm reaching. But so I think that's the future. Facts, blind guy. I'm always here for you. When that blind guy, his wife, in their life, whatever you need from me, I'll be here. I'm learning too. But yeah, I think that's the future. And two, I don't. I think it's 5 years away. To be honest, 5 to 10 years away. I think Fortnite's putting some stuff in there to try to get their stuff a little closer to metaverse. If Facebook just now hiring 10,000 employees, right, from Europe. They got a lot of work to do, right? But I like to think about trends and get ahead of trends, right? Because Second Life's been out since 2003. I've never done Second Life. I knew about it, but it just never was interesting enough to get me to do that type of to get in Second Life and I guess feel that stuff. So ways to make money on the metaverse, like we talking, a virtual property rental. Metaverse developers usually sell their virtual land parcels as a blank space, meaning their owners are full creativity to build whatever they want, be it a hotel, an art gallery, casinos, cinema, or sports stadium. It's their choice to build and how to charge their users. The opportunity to generate revenues are endless, from renting a building or charging admission fees for selling an advertising space. Right. So theoretically, I can buy a plot of land. I'm gonna call it a plot of digital space. Right. And if I have it in a populated area, people could buy my space and build what they want on top of that. Right. Facts on that. I got that coming right next, engineering. Welcome, engineering cannabis. He's my man on the AI. I'm going to talk a little bit about virtual reality and augmented reality with AI to make the whole metaverse work, right? So we're going to talk about that. And he just mentioned advertising. That's right next up on my slide, right? Virtual worlds can mimic any activity from the real world, and the possibilities for users to interact with others are endless. So to those who are interacting with companies and brands and products, right? That's advertising, right? So I can actually sell you some digital Gucci shoes, right? Those could be made by Gucci, and Gucci could get a royalty for you using Gucci on some shoes, right? And you got to, it could be a couple pennies, but if you got a billion people or 100 million people in this metaverse spending that, that starts to add up, right? And then two, if you do something super creative, they might give you $1. But if you have a million people giving you $1 for a certain article, clothes design, right? From an advertising standpoint, that's real money. In game advertisements already in multi-billion dollars, move over online game environment in virtual shopping malls and social spaces for young Gen Zers. See, Blind got his wife. That's for young Gen Zers in the mix. This is where they meet, socialize, collaborate, spend time, and not it's not old school Instagram where they spend time anymore. Right. So this is gonna be the new part, right? Developers do everything in the power to create the most elusive, engaging, rewarding space. The number of metaverse users is rapidly growing. It's likely to say the virtual world and the new social spaces will become a massive marketing channel, right? It's kind of like YouTube. If you have a big audience, right, your CPM, you get paid more for your ads, right? It'd be the same kind of thing in metaverses, but right, instead of ads just be, your screen, you can have ads actually on a billboard. If you have a building, you can have an actual ad on your building. You might actually be advertising clothes for something that you get paid for. So there's a lot more ways in the metaverse to think of advertising, right? If we go into a club, as a clique or a group, right? And there's advertising in the club or in the club, which I think is crazy, right? They're gonna show you drinking fake liquor in the club. So if you get Johnny Walker Blue or Crown Royal XR, right? Those are advertisements in the games that those companies are gonna spend, right? Because if you drink it in the digital world, you might want to drink it in the real world, right? So those are high end brands, right? Uh, Johnny Walker Blue, Crown War XR, um, Hennessy XO. All of those are ways to make money in advertisement, right? It's the next level. Then like, what's up, Keep It Techie? What's up, CL? And then like Engineering Cannabis says, now you have AI with advertisement. There's a lot of things you haven't even thought of, right? You could be swimming underwater with a whale, and it could be, seafood comes on the side of the whale to get you by it, right? So there's a lot of ways to make money in that metaverse world. Then two is in investing in the metaverse industry in real life. Metaverse is a new dimension on the internet. At some point, it can be incorporated each in our lives. Logically, this is a big opportunity for business. So visionary companies are jumping into the bandwagon. The growth potential in virtual space for multi-million users is massive. The native digital currency for separate metaverses like Decentraland, it's MAM, or a Sandbox have increased multiple times. For those performing traditional investing approaches, stocks and metaverse companies as options. Roblox, Unity, of course, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Walt Disney, and Facebook are all moving into that the metaverse world. Everybody's trying to get their company in there, get their verse created, and get people working. So if you're Disney, if people can't come to Disney World, you can do Disney World in the metaverse, right? And it's getting good. I actually was using the Samsung VR for a while. I was actually getting seasick. I was actually in one of those rapid rides on a boat. I was actually getting seasick with those VR goggles just from my Samsung phone. And I did that like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna be throwing around on a fake boat on a fake river, right? So, um, so investing in the underlying technology. Currently, majority of metaverses use Ethereum, the hype around the reflective massive price surge, and Ether and the native coins. Landscape change, competing blockchains enable their contract NFT functionalities. For instance, witness almost vertical growth in recent months. Blockchain protocol that aims to solve scalability issues and offer lower network fees than Ethereum have solid fundamentals to grow in an NFT-driven market. So if you have your own metaverse, you could come out with your own digital coin that could be used in your metaverse, right? And if you buy you some coins up front before you start, making those coins and selling those coins, right? You can control the growth of certain coins with their values, right? So that's how you start thinking about the metaverse in the real world and how you put those together. They try to break up Facebook. The funny thing is, you're young. They try to break up Microsoft in the '80s for 20 years, but it's always going to be a bigger company, man. Facebook has its run. They're not gonna control the metaverse. It'll be another company, right? But I'm into those VR games too. You like those VR games, Tobias? Like I said, I had the Samsung glasses, and you could buy the Samsung VR. I forgot the name of it, but then you was running the scene, and the default one was you in the rapids going down. Like I said, I was getting seasick in the fake boat in the fake water. Those VR games kind of start feeling real, man. So as long as I can old fashioned technique like advertise real people, real currency, not physical money, I'm good. Yeah, I feel you, blind guy, his wife. But that's always the next big thing, man. I was joking. I'm from the beeper life. I used to walk around with a beeper. Now I got a small computer in my pocket, right? So, blind guy, his wife. Times never stop. Technologies never stop, and improvement never stops. So, shout out to the kids making big deals. The last part, like we talked about, investing in NFT, non fungible coins, themselves are collectibles, hence speculative access because of technology features. NFTs are unique pieces of digital data, which makes them scarce and valuable at some point. Investors expect to value to rise over time, but also NFTs are trending. They also new type of investment, sometimes at the risk of being overpriced. And right, and I think engineering cannabis talked about that too. Is you can have a piece of art, use blockchain with NFT, give it a price, and right, that's your digital currency. And with blockchain, nobody can copy it or steal it, right? Because that's going to keep track of who bought it and what it's not. And when you put it together with blockchain, right, you can hash it so you know if anybody's trying to replicate your piece of art and selling it to somebody else, right? So that's definitely part of the future, right, of the metaverse. Oh, I agree. And shout out to Engineering Canada. The metaverse will be in every industry, and control of this will be limited. No, I agree with that. Tobias, you could open up a VR business if you have enough. No, that is true. Try to go after Microsoft, prop up Apple. Shout out to American Negro for joining us. But like we said, the metaverse is coming. Like in engineering cannabis, it's going to be everywhere. The question is, and you don't have to. How do you take advantage of it? How do you get in front of it? How do you get a piece of it from stocks? Who creating it? Who's writing programs? And you can program to get your piece in there, right? So you can get in there and figure out your building in the metaverse where you can have a party or where you can have advertisement or you can advertise your own firm with your own special things in the metaverse, right? That could be shoes, clothing, or just something different, right? So that's the thing about it, right? Is new thought pattern, how you move, and how do you take advantage of it? This is out there. Play to earn blockchain based games and NFTs enable a new revolution of play to earn games. The principle here is gamers have ownership and control of their in game assets and a fully ability to trade or exchange them for real money. Like my son on Fortnite, right? People have powers and different guns and different vests and stuff to protect you. My grandson want to spend real money on I'm calling it metaverse, but virtual goods, right? So he's at that age. He's 6, so he's about that with his team, right? So that's NFTs, virtual goods for real money, right? So big facts. Blockchain NFTs on art now will be music, comedy, and soon be Netflix comedies. But now that's true. Like Engineering Canvas says, this blockchain NFTs, that's a marriage made in heaven, right? And they're growing. So once again, on the player game model, so there was an article. I think I got this out of Forbes. Play to earn gaming model embraces the idea of open economy, financial rewards for every user who adds value by playing and spending time in a gaming ecosystem. In the past, perception was games was they were just a way of having fun. That perception is changing now as new classes of games are emerging. These games are not only fun, but they also attract investment opportunities. Speaking of investment, in recent time, the industry has seen big venture capital investments of a lot of money, as much as $9.6 billion dollars in the last 18 months. 24 blockchain based gaming companies have seen $476 million dollars since 2019, and also a big point in 2021. Right? So those games, and people make money in those games, especially in small foreign countries, right? They're playing games, building up their power, like you said, making goods, and they're selling them to little kids in America and Europe, right? Because they don't want to stay on the game and build that money, right? They want to make the shortcut. So people are making $10, $15 a day in a small country, a third world country. That's a lot of money, right? So let's see. Even though the player is only just emerging, they will likely be around and enjoy popularity for a long time. So let's see. Not gonna lie, I spent money in Fortnite selling skins are tough. Shout out to Dave W. Confessor. See Dave out there buying them skins. Yeah. My grandson be wanting all the skins, man. You know, he be out there with his team. They want matching bulletproof vests and boots. So, shout out to Dave W. for investing in his Fortnite. So, real quick, I've looked up Apple. Apple's getting in the game. They're doing it at a smaller level, but they're doing it, I think, from a business perspective. Apple Bionic Meeting Room is social networking through avatars. Apple has better patents, better technology, better design chops, better development tools, and more trust among its user base. Virtual meeting rooms poise social networking, video conferencing, business travel, and professional conferences. So they're trying to move the metaverse right to a business perspective. Like I said, if we're having a meeting around a table and we're talking about the design of a building or a hotel, and we got our goggles on, we can bring up the hotel, we can all be in a room in the hotel in the lobby. How are you going to build it, right? The metaverse, you can make all that stuff possible, right? And now, and everybody knows this. And of course, I'm gonna show AWS if they got a small version of that. I can spin up 1,000 VMs, so I got enough. I got enough horsepower to do that, right? I can spin up a ton of stuff on Azure and Rackspace and Google now, right? So I can spin up enough computer power where I can have 10 million people in a virtual game where I'm running where it's not skipping now, right? Because I have enough power, right? So I can make all my characters smooth. My man Travis Scott did his concert. They said it wasn't a glitch, right? Because you can spin up enough VMs to where if you're pegging a CPU or you're not one of your characters acting funny, you can just spin up another VPN, get you a CPU intense VM on AWS, and you got extra power in your game. It sees those CPUs, it sees that memory, right? Then if you need less power, which is cool and cheaper, you can have those you can have 100 servers go offline because you don't need that much power at night, right? So you can start tailoring and saving money and making money, right? With on-demand assets of how you create your metaverse. Uh, yeah, that's the metaverse. So and we know the industry that's gonna go first. I probably shouldn't have put this slide on here. The first context: Sex like real has videos that's focused on a broad range of sexual desire. So we know the porn industry is gonna be on metaverse, right? They're gonna be out there. The degenerates out there. You're gonna be getting lab dances and virtual reality. Ain't no telling what people gonna do in virtual reality, right? Because porn always go first. People don't realize first people start making money on the internet was porn. They were taking credit cards before everybody, right? So it's going to be interesting what the industry and how far they take that, and that's I believe it right there. But we know porn's going to be in the game and metaverses, probably doing too much, right? Making money, right? But so it's all the people. If you got the good people out there, you're gonna have a few degenerates doing stuff, that's not appropriate out there, right? And two is we're gonna talk about that in. I didn't really do a slide. Is what is free speech out there? What is legal out there, right? Can I attack somebody in virtual world, right? Is that a crime or not a crime, right? If I got a if I got a yard and somebody spray paint something on the front of my digital house, is that a crime? I don't know, but we'll talk about that in the end, right? So, how far are we going to take this, right? Or is it just digital? Metropolis AI will sort all that facts on the facts because Metropolis AI is going to be out on. Imagine a new way to read books to your kids with VR technology where characters come to life. That is true, like you said. Are we reading the books? I'm lazy. I'm gonna put the goggles on my kids and say, "Enjoy the book," right? So if Little Red Riding Hood, and the Three Pigs and the wolf comes, right? All that's in VR. They might be in the bed next to Goldilocks, right? You can make the game do whatever you want now, right? So that's the beauty of it, right? When you get to it, right? There's so many ways to from positive learning, the digital divide. Um, you can learn anything at the pace you want to learn it at. Right? We talk about people looking at YouTube videos and stuff. Imagine if you could put on goggles and see somebody put together a computer or see somebody do a metaverse program, right? Where you actually seeing the bytes and the packets move in the network, right? I'm cybersecurity. Maybe I want to show a hacker doing a TCP dump, and I can actually show you the patch move, the packets come out the port and get captured and piped into a file, right? But you can actually see the bytes in the packet build a file, right in front of your eyes, right? Like you looking at water coming out of a lake, right? But those are data bits being piped in a file that you can see being built, right? So there's a lot of pluses when you talk about metaverse and how you're making moves. So this is metaverse is a picture of the 7 layers, and we're just gonna touch on them a little bit. So I want to, because I'm a tech guy, so let's talk about the layers and what they do. Of course, at the bottom of infrastructure, 5G, Wi-Fi 6, 6G, 7G, 7M, MEMS and GPU, right? So 5G, is super quick. Imagine what we can do with 6G when it gets there. The speed of that, right? Then you driving with your phone, but you're hooked into the metaverse, right? So the map is actually showing up on the side of your windshield, where you don't have to look down at your phone. Well, your phone talks to you though, but so there's a lot of applications that you could build that if you had that 6G speed on your phone with the metaverse, what could you do? Human interface, right? Mobile, smart glasses, wearables, gestures, voice, and neural networks, right? So how do you um, use all those human interactions and interfaces, right? I'm usually just think of Oculus. Samsung has theirs. There's a few others, right, where you put them on your eyes, right? Google glasses. I mean, so there's a ton of human interfaces. And there always can be your computer where you're not physically in there, but you're getting a 2D, 3D effect from just looking at your laptop or even your phone, right? From portable. Decentralization, which I thought was cool. Edge computing, AI agents, microservices, and blockchain, right? So if I'm doing a metaverse, right, and AWS is actually in Chicago, but there's edge computing in each city, right, that they built that's close to your provider, being Verizon, AT&T, where so that's the edge. So they take that computing, put it in your city, put it a couple miles from you, right? So you hit the edge computing, then it sends it dark fiber back to AWS, right, in Chicago. But the edge computing's moved so close to you now, right? Your characters aren't skipping, right? Because it's doing that initial computing before it sends it back to the cloud, right? So you get that increased reality of your characters with the decentralization edge part of computing, right? Spatial computing, 3Ds, VR, AR, XR, multitasking, UI, and geospatial mapping, right? Greater economy, designs, tools, asset markets, workflow and commerce, discovery, ad networks, social, curation, rating, stores, and agents. And the experience, of course, gaming, social, exports, theater, shopping. There's just so many possibilities of that and how that moves from the metaverse, right? And how do we get in there? How do we become part of the metaverse, right? So each one of those are different layer of the metaverse, right? Shout out Net Creepy. Maybe we'll be transcending reading as we know. I think we will, to be honest, right? We transcending cursive writing, Metropolis. Kids don't do cursive anymore, right? So I think when you get the metaverse and how it's built, there's be so many ways to do interactivity, right? And thinking of ways new people learn. Because you think, especially with the pandemic, most kids are doing some remote type of work, right? So the next level is that you doing your work, right? Tech G's in the house. What's up? Um, so Tech G has his classes out there. I was checking out his networking. Like I said, he could do a metaverse where he goes into the metaverse. He's actually showing the kids the bus on the PC. They're standing in the computer on the bus, right? He's looking at the ribbon of the bus, right? He's standing next to the hard drives in the computer. He can touch the hard drives, and they'll open up and show the platters in the metaverse, right? He can click on in the metaverse. The platters will go up, show you how to put the ribbon up. Then you can see the binary ones and zeros moving through the ribbon to actually get on the hard drive, right? Then that nibble and that full 8 characters, once you click on the 8 characters, it'll show you if an A, B, C, or D. So you can start thinking of education at a whole new level, right? Especially when you talk about little kids, because I'm thinking about teaching Python next summer to middle school, but you got to make it fun, man. You got my grandson's 6, so I'm gonna try to get him in there. His attention span is that of a gnat. Now I'm old school. I might whoop his butt to make sure he stays still so I can teach him. But you got to make it fun, right? To think about it, right? So the metaverse gives you so many that will be dope. Shout out to Tech G. So there, when you talk about the metaverse, there's so many applications you can use from a training perspective, right? And just different perspective of how you could look at that, right? And make different moves. So we're gonna touch on each one of those 7 layers at a high level, like the experience, like we talked about. Many people think of a metaverse as 3D space with surrounds us, but the metaverse is not 3D or 2D or even necessary graphics. It's about the exorbitant dematerialization of physical space, distance, and object, and it includes 3D games like Fortnite on the console, Beat Saber, or Reality, right? So I'm 3D, but I can fly, right? So now I got to do up, down, right, and left, right? I could dive into the ocean, right? So that's more than 3D, right? Like you said, now you're talking about the deep materialization of different objects. Like we was talking about Tech G, when you click on that drive and it comes apart, right? That's 3D, but you dematerialize in a hard drive and you're looking at it different. You go to the platter where you, like I said, you click on it, you can see the ones and zeros of the binary representation of what that sentence actually means, right? So that's a little different from um, an experience from a computer perspective. And once again, they talk about Alexis, Zoom meetings, Clubhouse phone, the Peloton as a gym, right? Those are all different pieces of it. When you put the VR on it, right? That's a whole nother level of experience that you can have, right, from the top. Virtual experience is better than real. With VR entertainment, we change theory, become network like AWS transmission of movies. No, facts, engineer Cameron. Metropolis theaters are there. I like theater Metropolis. I'm an old guy, man. Sometimes I'm divorced. I just like to leave my house, Metropolis. I like to just go somewhere and get some popcorn I shouldn't be eating, but and eat some bad food in Metropolis. So I think the old people gonna keep the theaters alive. But let's talk about metaverse and the discovery. The discovery layer is about push and pull of introducing people to new experience, the vast ecosystem, lucrative parts of many businesses. Broadly speaking, most discoveries can be classified either inbound, the person is actively seeking information about the experience, or outbound, marketing that has not specifically requested by the person, or even if they're opt-in. So like Tech G, we both teach. So if I'm teaching Security Plus, I might be talking about a threat model, an agent, all right. So if I push that out to you because I did a YouTube ad, right, I market to you and you click it in, and I bring you into my metaverse to show you some cyber attacks like Kaseya or Solar Winds, right? And I could show you inside the network what would that look like. How do you actually take advantage of an MFA key, right, when you hack it, so the key's still valid, and I can act as you as the MFA. You can show that in the metaverse, right? That's a different thought pattern, a different look, right? But I outbound it to you. I pushed it out to you, right? Trying to get you to come see my YouTube channel, right? And this is the part we talk about. The level 3 from the metaverse is the creator, right? A lot of us here create content, create videos, create courses, create. Now, once again, what does that look like in the metaverse, right? The metaverse becomes increasingly immersed in social real time. Number of creators who craft increasing exponentially. The layers contain all the technology the creator uses on a daily basis. Previous creators' economics develop consistent partners, whether it's in a metaverse game, web development, or e-commerce, right? So I think it's going to be similar to AWS, right? These are the components to create what you need in metaverse. Be that a house, be that if you want to do um, some videos in there and make them more creative, right? For a training perspective. So they give you the tools to do it, right? Then you as a creator has got to put them together uniquely, a la YouTube, and get people to come subscribe to you or swim to you or fly up to your planet, right, to come check your class, right? Then two is we're gonna have to do the training a little different, like we talked about. Clicking on a drive to do threat modeling attacks, right? So now, since we're in a metaverse, what does that look like? It definitely has to be more entertaining than it is now, right? So that'll be the next verse, right? Metaverse is spatial computing, right? We're in space, we're moving around with characters, so you definitely gonna have to get your special space computing. We paint up trucks and planes with VR connected to sensors will make it easier to repair. Or when a doctor uses VR, oh, facts. Engineering cannabis, yeah. And a lot of people you was doing that with the Google glasses, right? It would show you the map or whatever you were fixing in the side. But he's right, the way you would fix stuff, it's gonna be a lot easier. I think it's gonna be cheaper when your washer and dryer break, depending on what it is. You can bring up a VR and the repairman can do a simulation right next to you fixing a problem that you have. Your belt's broke. You can watch the guy actually fix the belt, and you can actually replicate what he does to fix it, right? And you can do a lot of that on YouTube right now, right? You can figure out stuff, look up ACs and how. But if you can get in a metaverse and you can actually watch him take the screws off, take the engine off, and do it virtually, right? Then you can actually see it. Like I said, a lot of that's happening on YouTube now. It's just gonna go to another level, right up there. So spatial computing proposes hybrid real and virtual computing that erodes the barriers between the physical and the ideal world. Whenever possible, machines in space and the space machine will be allowed to bleed in each other. Sometimes means bringing space into the computer. Sometimes this means injecting computation in object. Mostly it means designing systems that push through traditional boundaries of screens, keyboards without getting hung up and melting into the interface of a meek simulation, right? And that's basically what engineering cannabis says, right? How's that gonna look and how are you gonna move? Salute to Citizen Lou, man. Shout out to that. How's the men gonna mailed into corporate America? I love the conversations between Sub, Citizen Lou. Very interesting. But from a meta verse perspective, we ain't gonna need to go to work. Ain't gonna be no suits. Ain't gonna nobody know who you are, right? You just program remotely. Maybe you won't have to communicate with people. You get your assignment in the metaverse and just do it. So we won't have to worry about that as an issue, right? So let's get the lights up. I shared this presentation on the channel, my channel. I appreciate that check, G. So yeah, so like I said, the metaverse is coming. Like I said, I think is Fortnite's the 1.5 version of that. Second Life was the one old version of that. I'm a little disappointed that Microsoft is going to hire 10,000 European programmers. I think we need to get a couple of those programmers in the United States. Come on, Mark Zuckerberg. 10,000 people is a lot of money. If you like, go check out the replay. They're going to spend $10 billion in the next year on the metaverse. So they're getting it together. Is the mind kidding legal? Let me think about that, JM. That's right on the gray area. I appreciate that, Citizen Lou. Decentralization, we all know that's gonna come. And if most people, if you ever seen Ready Player One, that's a version of a metaverse, right? The thing about that mostly was it was from a game perspective, so that's why I won't put it quite into the metaverse. But they were building, they were attacking. It was definitely a community, especially of the low people, trying to attack the high people, right? So the out-of-structure metaverse is the opposite of Oasis Player One, where it's controlled by a single entity. Experimentation and growth increase dramatically when options are maximized and systems are interoperable and built with the competitive markets where creators are sovereign over their own data and creation. I like that sovereign tone, right? The simple example of decentralization is in the DNS, which maps individual IP addresses to names, saving you from having to create a number each time you want to go somewhere on the online. Right? So it helps the big metaverses. They link them together, being Facebook, probably Microsoft, Apple was in there. So it'd be interesting to see if they let you move from one metaverse to the other one, right? Usually you go from a domination and just try to take over your own verse, your own metaverse, right? Because you try to make all the money, right? You try to secure the bag for the metaverse. And two is we need to talk about that. Like, all the tech guys and ton of them are in here. Shout out to them. Is what does that mean for the next level of programming? What does that mean for the level of knowledge you need to look to be at? Right. I'm cool. I'm 53. I'm about out the game. I got about another 7 years. I'm shutting it down. But there's a lot of guys 20. Right. They're gonna have to deal with the metaverse as technology and a way to learn and a way to make money. Right. So how's that gonna look like you said, in real life? Or maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe it won't have effect really on real life, right? Maybe just the elite programmers will be in the metaverse, right? Like we talked about, human interface, computer devices are getting closer to bodies, transforming us into cyborgs. Smartphones are no longer phones; they're highly portable, always connected, and powerful computers that happen to have a phone application installed. They're getting more powerful. Further miniaturization, embedded AI technology, low latency. We talked about 6G coming out. 5G gonna be super fast. 6G is gonna be right behind it. So what can you do with that type of power and speed, right, from a human interface, right? Oculus Quest is essentially a smartphone that has been refactored into a VR. Right, it's untethering, gives you the senses of being in the metaverse. Right, what does that mean? Right, and what new applications are they going to create now? Because the stuff, Google Maps is phenomenal for a free app. I was old enough where we did real maps. Then you had to pay for it, right? So now, when you just think of something as good as Google Maps for free. I mean, now it tells you it's within 1,000 feet. Please move over to the right 2 lanes, right? So imagine what you're gonna get when you get to the next level of pure 5G, pure 6G, right? So it's going to be interesting to see, like I said, that next level of and take to creativity, right? What are people creativity like? I've been struggling with creativity because I was joking with one of my students. They said, "What's your thought on Snapchat?" I said, "If you could take an app and put your tongue out and make dog ears with it, that was the first app they showed with Snap, right? And do funny faces and avatar." I told them, "You could never make any money doing that, right? That's $1 billion app." Snapchat. I'm not a big Snapchat user, but if you brought to me that as a business plan, I would have told you that's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Right. So the creativity of how you do it and how, especially kids now and people use different applications. Right. So the last layer, like we talked about, is the infrastructure layer, including devices, connection, networks, and deliveries. 5G network would dramatically improve the bandwidth, network connection, increase speed in an order of magnitude, and 6G is going to be right behind it, right? So, what can you create with that, right? How is that going to move in real life, right? The virtual share too. I picked the virtual revolution 2040 illustrate. Oh, that's true. 70% of the world is plugged in the government. So no, that is true, and I think you get that now at a certain level, right? We talk about poor kids getting subsidized laptops. There was the Obama phone, Citizen Lou. So I think all of that's coming in slowly, right, and starting to make those moves. And you're right. Um, I think the government, if it gets as big as it is, because Facebook gets hell now because so many people in the United States use Facebook. The government's like, hey, Facebook, we got to come and get a hold on you, man, because right, too many people use it. And a lot of people, um, when it went down for 6 hours, a lot of companies use Facebook for username, password, and authentication. Everybody's been a website where they ask you, do you want to use your Facebook username and password to get on this app, right? That's using it for authentication. So if they went down and your company was using that, you were down for 6 hours and you lost money, right? So all of that's going to start looping around. How are you going to do authentication into the metaverse? Right? And I got a few slides, of course. I'm a cybersecurity guy, so I got to put cybersecurity guy at the end. But what does that look like? And how do you move it and how do you protect yourself? So of course, Amazon is one of my favorite companies. I'm studying for the Amazon, one of Amazon certificates, so I'm always on there. So of course, they got Amazon Sumerian. Once again, it gives you the components to create your own virtual reality app, right? So I'm just gonna touch on it. It's there. You can see it easily creating one browser-based 3Ds, augmented reality, AR, and virtual reality application. It brings new dimension to your web and mobile application with the Amazon Sumerian 3D experience at a breath new life into your application web and increase customer engagement and improving productivity and workspace. Right. So that's a tool to get you not in the metaverse, but it gets you using those tools so you become comfortable with doing VR and augmented reality, in the metaverse, right? So you get used to using those tools. Um, Bill and Tech G, that's this and Lou. Processing speed in 5G and 6G would make automatic vehicles things faster. Shout out to that. Yeah, I did a video about autonomous trucks and why they're coming. The big argument one guy was arguing, he was like, the insurance. I'm like, insurance are cheaper for automatic trucks because you're actually insuring a company. Product insurance is always cheaper than individual insurance. Why? Product companies can say your car can only go so fast. You as a person could floor the truck or floor the car, right? So insurance is actually going to be cheaper in autonomous vehicles when they get online, right? The trucks are going to come first, then the vehicles going to come, right? Latin America was hit hard when the WhatsApp went down. True, and it's amazing how we depend on certain apps like WhatsApp. Like I said, Facebook is huge. LinkedIn is huge. If and two is Amazon goes down probably every couple of years for a while. If Amazon and Assure goes down, they usually go down. Then you got thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of companies going down because people depend on cloud services like water, right? So when that water breaks, you got to dig up your backyard, right? You don't get water for a while, right? So that's why people are doing cloud services. And that Amazon product, like you can create a 3D scene in minutes, easily integrated with AWS services, deliver anytime, anywhere, and on any device. You can do 3D web, augmented reality, or virtual reality. Once again, it gives you the components to put together. Like AWS gives you the component, but you got to configure them to make them work right. So that's one thing AWS and Azure, they got something for everything for everything you want to do, right? So if you want to go out there to play it too, you can get that the developer that I think for a year and probably do small metaverses or once again augmented reality and virtual reality, which would be a component. Hopefully, you can upload it into an open source metaverse and get those things to actually run. Right? And this actually shows you digital diagram of that and what it would look like from a user and a programming standpoint. I can't help myself, Citizen Lou. I grew up as a programmer, so it shows the user you're using Amazon Sumerian, Amazon Cognito, Amazon Lex are actually voice neuralization. So when they talking, you can use that to actually move your character or make it go up. AWS Lambda is what my man Nectropolis talked about. That's serverless computing, right? Um, so in Amazon Simple Storage, so it just kind of walks to you to how to do a simple product and a simple thing to do. What do you think about Facebook? I have no idea what Citizen Lou, what Facebook gonna name it. They might call it Faceverse. I don't know. That's how horrible I am. Faceverse, Faceverse, like metaverses. You call it Faceverse. I have no idea, man. They probably gonna spend $1 billion renaming their company, man. But that's a quick thing you can do on Amazon and create you some augmented and virtual reality to get a feel of what that would look like programming actually in the metaverse, right? So me being a cybersecurity guy, I got to do a couple of attacks at the end, right? So is metaverse ready for cyber attacks? Cybersecurity laws and protocols will need to be reconsidered and amended, perhaps invented to include all the risk of metaverse. There are just a few things that will need protection in the metaverse space, and the list may grow in protection. One thing we're talking about privacy, data use ethics, and safety guidelines, biometric if I'm getting how you would walk, right, I can actually put your gait in cyberspace and that'll be like your fingerprint. How you walk, right, and how you move is a fingerprint on you in metaverse, right? How you talk, I could take voice recognition, right? It could predict who you are 99% of the time if you talk normal, right? Because that's your voice print. So, what all kind of prints are you gonna have in VR, right? How you move, how you type, how you talk, right? How you run, right? So all those would be cyber things to attack in cyberspace. And I thought this was super interesting. At the moment, the true value of potential data in cyber breaches still lies within the underlying legacy systems. But as the metaverse becomes a new marketplace with both personal data and commerce, the risk of a breach becomes imminent. Due to the high costs associated with developing AR, VR, MR, many systems are being created through open source platforms to keep the cost down. The ability to obtain core software for open source platform means that there's a risk of inadvertently exposure to third-party coding that could allow sensitive information to be shared or distributed or leaked, right? Because when you use open source, especially at this volume, you're gonna have everybody trying to get in the metaverse to make money. If you get a bug in open source, that could be on 20 million metaverse. I'm calling them widgets or digits or whatever you want to call them as your coding paradigm in there, right? So it's going to be when you find a hack, there's going to be an enormous hack, right? That's going to be caused by that. Researchers from the University of New Haven in Connecticut recently found that there were nothing to stop attackers from changing what you see in virtual reality. In a controlled attack, they were able to successfully alter the content of your VR experience, finding that VR has no protection on compromised computing. Right, and of course, some of these are going to get locked. Um, Fixed. Some of these are gonna get mitigated, right? I'm a security guy, so I always figure out what's the security guy, right? So my man Tech G surfing, and automatically I put him in the ocean underwater. Would he think he's drowning? Would he drown? If your mind thinks you drowning, would you drown? I mean, that's been in a number of movies, right? If you getting hit and you think you hitting, are you gonna feel pain? Tech G, like hell, I'm old enough. I'm just gonna take the goggles off, right? But those are things we got to start thinking about in the metaverse and what does that really mean, right? Tech G's my man, he always throwing out, if you have racism in the metaverse, is that real racism or fake racism? If I have a house and somebody attacks my house, what is that, right? Is that I'm good, it's digital? I just rebuild my house with a click, or was I attacked personally? And I need to file a report, right? So those are some of the things. I mean, we see it now. There's certain things you can't talk about on YouTube. You get demonetized, right? There's certain things you can't do on Facebook, right? They'll take you down. So what does that look like in the metaverse? Tested both on Oculus HT5. The attacks were done through OpenVR, a software development kit by Valve. Research has specified protection in the place so the attackers wouldn't lead directly to important data, but instead found the crucial elements of the software were not encrypted. Right? Encrypted means, I encrypted and people can't read it while I'm using it. But we all know Metaverse is really getting started, and people are going to fix those bugs. They're going to make better technology, and that's one thing I do give Facebook, Apple, Google. They spend money on that stuff, right, to fix those problems and get them fixed and get them handled right. But there will be some problems when it first started, right? And two is we talk about on Facebook, foreign governments, foreign nations trying to talk about how you think and how you move. What is it going to look like on, on Metaverse? Is Russia going to take over, group you in, and make you do something different? Is Russia going to beat up your avatar, drag you in, right? So, what does that look like in the future of the Metaverse, right? Right. So that stuff as a society, we need to figure out as a Metaverse. But the crazy thing is, we still trying to figure that out in society now, right? What does that mean, right? And what how the laws are gonna handle it. Activity is not perfectly actual. There's a case where a guy was ramming into the cars, but it's hard to avoid accidents when people are targeting. But I get food facts. Shout out to Peter Investor M. And so this is one of the from Oculus, of course, which is yeah, that's what Facebook bought, right? It's what you put on. There's a bug in there. It's right into unprivileged files. Name the file from Oculus. It gives you that number so you can go back to that particular version of Oculus. With that version, I can, like you said, I can take over what you're seeing and attack you, right, from a cybersecurity perspective. Right, I'm not getting worked up, right? It's new technology, new stuff, but we always got to think cybersecurity, right, to figure out how we move, right, and how we take over. So, I think I just saw that. So that's all I got today. I was just metaverse was. I just started hearing a lot about it, so I'm trying to stay on top of technology. I think it's some unique. Shout out to Engineering Cannabis. He's always on me to get on my AI, my virtual reality, my machine learning, and my robotics. So I need to start doing a little more of that. That's actually the big bag when you can master that from a programming standpoint. If y'all got any questions, just shoot them on the chat. I'm about to cut out and give me some some lunch and do a little work so I don't get fired for today. So once again, thanks for sharing it. Please subscribe. And once again, put the questions. If I don't see them, you can always put a comment. I'm so small. I'm trying to get up to my 1,000. So I answer all comments on any videos. ProfessorBlackOps@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to me, that's actually on my in my YouTube about page. So that's all I got, fellas. I thought this was super interesting. I'm probably sure I'll probably do another one. I think I'm gonna go on Amazon and try to program something on that smile and see if I could do it. Little slash VR, little AR, and lose some of the components to see if I could do something with training just to make it a little different and a little more interesting. Just think a little bit different. Gonna get you a plant-based treat. Shout out. I need to work on my plant-based. I think I'm gonna wait till 2022, like the rest of everybody else. I'm working on that. I appreciate that, Tech G. So everybody check it out on a replay. Like I said, I'm about to get subscribe to Check G, Blind Guy, his wife, JM. Let's just support each other, especially Check G. I love his beginning computer class on his Tech G channel. I always send even some people in my classes I send his way. I think that's doing yeoman's work for everybody, especially the manosphere. I appreciate that, Titanium. Everybody had a great day. Let me do a little work before I get out. If you got any questions, once you look at it, you think about it, put it in the comment section on the video. I'll definitely answer anything. Everybody have a great Thursday. I can see the weekend. I'm struggling and tired. I appreciate it, D.E. Prather. Oh, yeah, check out Tech G, man. That channel's good, man.